third session, and the third session will be conducted by Honorable Principal Dr. A.P. Khairnar sir. Dr. A.P. Khairnar sir is ex-officiating Dean of Languages in KBC North Maharashtra University, Jalgaon. He is ex-BOA chairman in English of Kavitri Bainabai Chaudhary, North Maharashtra University, Jalgaon. Presently, sir is occupying the seat of Senate member in KBC North Maharashtra University, Jalgaon. I'd like to tell that sir is the president of English Teachers Association of KBC North Maharashtra University. He is a member of CAS in KBC North Maharashtra University, Jalgaon. He is being a principal in his college. He has arranged 3 international conferences, national seminars, and student-centered activities. He edited numerous books. I'd like to tell you that 6 students, including me, have completed their PhD under the able guidance of Dr. A.P. Khairnar sir. And he is really a academician, good orator. He has delivered several lectures on various academic issues and topics. Today he is going to address on the topic Digital Feminism, a Perspective. So I'd like to invite Honorable Dr. A.P. Khairnar sir to address on the topic Digital Feminism. Over to you, Khairnar sir. Over to you.
Am I audible, sir?
Yeah, you're audible. You can continue.
Very good morning to all of you. I am Principal Dr. Ashok Khairnar, Honorable Dr. Mangalatai Desle, Secretary, Trimurti Shikshan Samstha, Sakri, respected Professor V.U.Patil, Registrar, Kavitri Bainabai Chaudhary, North Maharashtra University, Jalgaon, Honorable Mrs. Mrunaltai Desle, Chairperson of Trimurti Shikshan Samstha, Sakri, respected Dr. Ajinkya Desle, Director, Trimurti Shikshan Samstha, Sakri, respected Dr. Suvarna Sindhe, Honorable Principal Dr. P.S. Sonone, who is the person behind this national webinar and who has taken a good initiative for this national webinar. Convener of this national webinar, Dr. Jahagirdar Sarunke, coordinator of this webinar, Dr. Nilesh Madishkar, Dr. Mane, Dr. Bhatt, Mr. Viral Didia, teaching and non-teaching staff of the college, and dear participants. At the outset, I express my gratitude to the organizers for inviting me to deliver the speech at National Conference. It is a matter of pride and pleasure that a college in hilly area is organizing national webinar on digital humanities. This is a very unique and innovative theme. The webinar is organized by using ICT is really praiseworthy. We know that we have been in lockdown due to Corona, due to this calamity, due to this national calamity, due to this world crisis. And in such a time, we academicians should take initiative, should talk. We must be vibrant. And I appreciate the efforts of this college and that too small college, which is coming forward and showing courage for great academic initiative that of organizing national webinar. I therefore congratulate the management, Principal Dr. P.S. Sonone, convener of this webinar, Dr. Jahagirdar Salunke, and coordinator of this webinar, Dr. Nilesh Madishkar, and the team of this college. What is feminism? Feminism is a very comprehensive term. Feminism is a very important contemporary literary theory. I will first discuss feminism and its development, then I will come to digital feminism. The word feminism is derived from 2 components. Femme means woman in French, and isme means a social movement or political ideology. Feminism is a literary and critical term with sociological, historical, psychological, and political connotations. It is one of the critical theories about the issues of women. Feminism discusses the assigned roles and interprets literature showing the unfair presentation of women characters. I mean, it presents the role of women and the images of women presented in literature and analysis of that, evaluation of their roles in literature. That is the major part. In a line, if I want to define what is feminism, feminism is nothing but vocal for equal. Vocal for equal is the right of women. This feminism strongly educates female writers to reject male-oriented language and design their own. Feminist literary criticism is an approach for analyzing women's images presented through literature and challenges writing that presented women with biased ideology. It also advocates to reject the canon of literature. When we see literature, we find in different ages, the images of women have been presented in different ways. We find biased images of women. Not justice is done to them. Unfair images are presented. And feminism is the literary theory which evaluates that. And that's why it also advocates to reject the canon of literature. Feminism works for the reformation of society, transformation of society. It covers two important issues. One is equality, and the second is their rights. Feminism is based upon these two issues. This movement aims at establishing equality between men and women. It is based on political, cultural, and economic ideologies. The movement was the protest against social, political, cultural, and economic restrictions on the basic rights of women. Through this movement, they wanted to make protest of the discrimination on the basis of gender. What we come to know, women are treated as subordinate on the basis of danger, on the basis of gender. They are treated as subordinate. They are treated as weak. They are treated as secondary. This is not good. Through this moment, they wanted to make the protest. It demands, this theory demands equality and fair justice in everything. It fights for the rights of women. It refuses superiority and inferiority complex. It demands fair attitude and fair treatment as human being, as she possesses equal capacity, equal competence, equal ability. It challenges and refuses the patriarchal system. The role of women was to get married and to look after home. These are the shackles of the family. Since the ancient time, we have been watching that women have been oppressed. The oppression of women by male-dominated society down the centuries is both a maternal reality and a psychological phenomenon. Patriarchy has suppressed women's creative urge and the very foundation of their life. We know that woman has the spirit, and that spirit is known as life force. Which is very much important, which enables her, to create her own image, and that is suppressed, that is disturbed by the patriarchal society. Under the patriarchy, women suffered from inequalities and underestimations. This is the curse. This is the curse done by patriarchy, that of inequalities and underestimation. Underestimating women is not good. Man looks at woman as something a lack, a negativity, irrationality, chaos, and darkness. Men's sexual desires define women's souls and give them secondary status. They are treated as subordinate. In this sense, in this connection, a number of personalities, a number of visionary people have contributed a lot. have presented their opinions. Aristotle says that female is female by virtue of certain lack of qualities. I mean, Aristotle is of the opinion that woman lacks some virtues. I mean, she is very secondary and she deserves that. Shakespeare also states that frailty thy name is woman. I mean, woman is treated as weak and emotional. I mean, she is frail. She is as frail as a dry leaf. She is very submissive. She is very emotional, and sometimes she gets over emotional, and that's why Shakespeare says, "Frailty, thy name is." We come across feminist approach in medieval period. When we talk of medieval period, Renaissance period, and the modern period, we come to know that the image of woman in medieval period was somewhat confused. I mean, it was also said that better to beat walnut and women. I mean, that was also the image, that was also the approach to look at women of the society. I mean, patriarchal society, that was not good. So during medieval time, we come across such a feminist approach that that woman was also treated as weak, and woman was also treated as secondary. At the same time, there are some authors, there are some writers, those who presented the strong image of women. Among them, Chaucer is one. When we look at Chaucer as one of the characters, one of the authors, I mean, who has presented right image, strong image, proper image, and that image is presented through the wife of Bath. The wife of Bath is shown as strong woman. We know that it was the age of religious doctrine, religious principles. I mean, morality was the only principle, only rule of that age, and everyone had to follow the religion. Everyone had to follow the church, the preaching of the church, the orders of the church. But it was the wife of God who rejected that preaching and came forward, came ahead as the strong woman. I mean, this was also the image presented by Chaucer in the Canterbury Tales. At the same time, we come to know that during Renaissance period, women went one step ahead and began to publish their literature. It means that she came to know her power, her creative art, her ability, her intellectual ability, and they began to use their creative platform for their expressions. The woman in Renaissance period took active participation in politics. Elizabeth I was the best example of political governance. During the second half of the 16th century, women came to throne in the beginning of 17th century, but they did not have their own identity. Instead, they were known by their husbands. They were known by their male partners. It was the period of their development, but it did not give them their identity, special identity. I mean, separate identity, unique identity. I mean, Renaissance period gave a kind of freedom to women, a kind of emancipation to women, but it was up to some extent. I mean, it was not given a full freedom, and that's why they were known by their male partners, or I can say they were known by their husbands. It was the period of their development, and it also created and enriched the theoretical framework of feminism. It means that Renaissance period gave a foundation for this feminism theory. We also see epoch-making, epoch-making essay, and that of Mary Wollstonecraft. Mary Wollstonecraft published an essay in 1792 entitled Vindication of the Rights of Women. I mean, this essay was a manifesto of feminism. Mary Wollstonecraft was the great supporter of the women. This essay is the justification of the rights of women. She was influenced by French Revolution, and we know French Revolution talked of liberty, equality, and when she was influenced by French Revolution, I mean, we know that during French Revolution, Talleyrand-Périgord, a French politician, proposed a national education policy in which he recommended that French girls should be educated with their brothers till the age of 8. Then the girls will remain at home. I mean, in that education policy, which was proposed by a French politician, I mean, the education of girl was recommended only up to 8 years and also with their brothers. And after that, the girls should stay at home. I mean, that was the policy. I mean, kind of limited education. I mean, which even could not make their development. I mean, that type of limited education was recommended in that education policy by the French politician. Mary Wollstonecraft wrote a book entitled Thoughts on Education of the Daughters in 1787. And that book really raised the voice for the education of daughters, education of the girls, and she strongly advocated the formal education to girls. She considered that lack of education is the root cause of the suffering of women. I mean, without education, we women cannot go away. Women cannot make their progress. Women cannot go away from their subordination, or you can say sufferings, or you can say predicaments with them. I mean, during 1880s and 1900, I mean, during these 2 decades, I mean, the end of 18th century, the first feminist movement was in its infancy and challenging the traditional view that women are subordinate to men. I mean, this was the decade. I mean, end of the 18th century was challenging the status and that too secondary status of women. When women changed the outlook to look at themselves, the critics and journalists gave new title to woman, and that is you. She tried to search for job. She tried to complete her education. She was expecting a good life. I mean, she was gripping for ambitions, aspirations, at the same time career, and she went out of home. This was the struggle for independence and self-respect. And new woman built her own image, and she struggled for independence and self-respect. In the 90s, the woman began to fly planes, ride bicycles, and had short hair. This was a big change, a daring step of women, but the society was not ready to accommodate such women. I mean, society was traditional, conventional, patriotic, and women began to change, and they were very old. And in such a situation, it became a problem for society. But women did not take any care of the patriarchal society, and this was really a bold step, I will say, of women. I mean, this was really the beginning of feminism. There are some women authors who have presented the images of women as good, as bold, as superior, as strong, and competent. And the authors were Jane Austen, George Eliot, and Bronte sisters. I mean, these 3 authors had given proper place in their respective works, or you can say in their novels. When we talk of Middlemarch by George Eliot, we come to know that Dorothea Brooke was a young, fascinating girl with noble aspirations, wants to improve her life. At the same time, conscious of her secondary status. And that's why Dorothea Brooke in Middlemarch by George Eliot struggles a lot to improve her life. When we see women characters in the novels of Jane Austen, Emma is the central character. Emma is the heroine of the novel Emma. Emma, struggles for her identity, struggles to build her own image, and struggles to fulfill her dreams and aspirations. In Sense and Sensibility, we find the same. In Pride and Prejudice, Elizabeth is also a powerful girl, and she is very much able to make proper choice. At the same time, the image of new woman is presented by George Bernard Shaw. George Bernard Shaw is such a dramatist who has presented a proper image. I mean, a suitable image, that of new woman. Before this, the image of woman was as very submissive. I mean, living domestic life, has not crossed the threshold of the house, unable to establish herself as an individual without the help of man. It means that without the help of man, woman cannot live, even woman cannot build her own image. That was the image. But G.B. Shaw has broken that tradition, and he has presented such a type of woman that who is very much strong. G.B. Shaw was of the opinion that the nature of human being was neither masculine nor feminine exclusively, but a mixture. The attributes of womanliness and manliness owe more to the environment and conventional pressures. I mean, the attributes of womanliness and manliness are given by the society, are given by the patriarchal society. I mean, womanliness, it means that the role which is the role of a domestic life, the role which is very much confined to family. I mean, that attribute is given by the patriarchal society. Even the clinical psychology tells us that womanliness and manliness are not the attributes. I mean, these are the genuine traits which we find in men and women. There are natural and deep-rooted traits of personality. The notion of passivity is developed from the childhood by the society. It is not biological. Men help women to remain in the illusion that they are born to serve men. That is the very noble role which is imposed by patriarchal society upon women, and this is the illusion which women also keep intact, and that's why women do not like to make any disillusionment, and disillusionment of this role will definitely break the affectionate tie between husband and wife, between man and woman. G.B. Shaw presented women characters with individualities and choices. He presented women with willpower and life force. I mean, the spirit which gives energy, which gives enthusiasm, which gives a kind of force, and which is known as the life force. And that life force, which is behind the life, which is behind living successful life, that life force is presented in Arms and the Man through the character of Raina. Raina is the heroine of that play. In that play, we find two characters, which are the male characters. One is Sergius and other is Bluntschli. Bluntschli is a false hero who is just making show of his love. I mean, Sergius, and Bluntschli is the true hero. I mean, Raina is able to make distinction between Sergius and Bluntschli. She does not run after Sergius, who is a false hero. She runs after Bluntschli, who is a true man, who is a genuine human being. And this is the power. This is the power, I mean, to know between good and bad, to know between false and true, false and genuine. I mean, she can make distinction between Sergius and Bluntschli. I mean, she possesses that ability. She possesses that competence. Such a wonderful, powerful heroine is presented by G.B. Shaw through the character of Raina. In Man and Superman, Anne Whitefield is presented, who runs after Tanner, and she compels him to stop and asks him that you cannot be the Superman without my help. I mean, this is the strong role played by Anne Whitefield. We also see, I mean, the character of Eliza Doolittle in Pygmalion. Professor Higgins, we know, very scholarly person, very dominant person, a great teacher. But when she has been learning, she does not forget her individuality. She does not remain under the pressure of Professor Higgins. I mean, she is a girl with individuality. And she becomes such a heroine who is very strong, competent. And this is the image of new woman which is built by G.B. Shaw in his plays. And that is the change in the role of women from domestic life to independent life to the life of self-respect and that the life of independence. We see inequality in the society. When we come across inequality in the society, there are certain events, there are certain, occasions which are good. And I would like to share some of the occasions. See, when the Right of Women's Property Act was passed in 1882, I mean, women can own the property. I mean, this freedom was given to them. This reduced the somewhat inequality between man and woman. At the same time, we come to know that the right of voting at local and national elections was given to them in 1980. This also reduced somewhat inequality between men and women up to some extent. The main issue of the right of voting we find in 19th century, and this was the real concern of feminism, or you can say feminist theme. See, in number of authors contributed. One of them is Ellen Showalter. Ellen Showalter is one of the founders of feminist literary criticism in the United States. Ellen Showalter's a literature of their own. British women novelists from Bronte sisters to Leslie presents the history of women's writing in 3 pages. 3 pages of women's writing have been presented by Ellen Showalter in her book entitled A Literature of Their Own. The first page is of feminine from 1840 to 1880. The second page is of the feminist from 1880 to 1920. And the third page is of female from 1920 onwards. The feminine phase was the period when women remained stick up to their family and domestic life. And it was the glorification of wifely and maternal role of women. In the feminist phase, women were struggling for the right to vote. They were claiming for that right and they won it. And in the female phase, women started their search for identity. They started their journey for self-realization, and in this way, they achieved that identity also. It means that it was the kind of independent image we find in the last decade of 20th century. The main focus of feminism is to study the patriarchy. The patriarchal thinking has certain approach to look at women. Women are inferior to men. That is why feminist critics challenge superior position of women. According to William Golding, women are far superior and always will be. Whatever you give a woman, she will make it greater. If you give her a house, she will make it a home. If you give her groceries, she will give you a meal. If you give her a smile, she will give you her heart. She multiplies and enlarges whatever is given to her. I mean, this is very great. This is the very noble role, which is presented by William Golding. And William Golding glorifies, enlarges the role of woman. I mean, this is the enlarged image of woman presented by William Golding. And in this way, we find that woman is becoming independent. At the same time, she takes every care and shares every experience. I mean, she is the real partner for the man, and she is really real caretaker of the family. That is the glorification done by William Golding with these words. The patriarchal thinking brings obstacles in the development of women. This approach makes women dependent on man. It also stresses that in childhood, father takes care of woman. Father takes care of daughter. In youth, husband takes care of wife. And in old age, son takes care of mother. She is always made I mean, she is always been silent, and silencing is done as long as she becomes silent. Shyness is inculcated since childhood. I mean, shyness is imposed upon her in her childhood. At every moment, she is made aware that she is a girl, and she has to observe the limits. Much favor is done to son and not to daughter. We know that when the boy child, I mean, male child is born, I mean, the first grade sweet is distributed, that is peda. And when the female child is born, the second grade sweet, that is jalebi, is distributed. This itself suggests discrimination between girl and boy, between male and female children. I mean, this discrimination starts from the birth itself. This is not good. I mean, when let it be male or female child, but peda is to be distributed. I mean, the first grade switch will establish equality. And in this way, we find that this discrimination prevails and continues. Domestic violence is the common fate of women. This has been continued since the days of Ramayana and Mahabharata. In Ramayana, Ram asked Sita to go through ordeal to prove her chastity. I mean, he knows society. He believes in the chastity. I mean, he is sure of the chastity of Sita. But for society, he asked Sita to go through the ordeal in order to prove her chastity. That happened to Sita also. It means that in this way, Sita suffered in the days of Ramayana. The same happened in Mahabharata with Draupadi. I mean, Draupadi also suffered. She was also insulted by Kauravas. I mean, in the assembly of the king. I mean, this insult was done to Draupadi, and it happened in the days of Ramayana and Mahabharata also. I mean, these two women, I mean, Sita as well as Draupadi suffered a lot. I mean, ordeals, or you can say worse conditions, they also suffered. When she is insulted, at that time, she tolerated it. There are some examples so long and so forth. In Vijay Tendulkar's plays, we find the women are coming forward, but still they are exploited. In the play Sakaram Binder, Sakaram is the head of the family. He tortures his woman companion Lakshmi. I mean, this we find. We also find it in Gashiram Kotha. Nana Fadanavis exploits, I mean, teenage girl Gauri. I mean, this happens even in the place of Vijay Tendulkar. Though the women are coming forward as strong, we can say independent. I mean, earning women. Sometimes shown dependent women, but sometimes shown earning women. We who believe in living relationship. I mean, that also presented in the place of Vijay Tendulkar. Let us come to feminism in India. There is difference between feminism in Western countries and in India. The nature of feminism in India differs from Western feminism. It started in India as a social reformation. A number of social reformers worked to uplift women from their pathetic condition. In India, brutal customs were in vogue about women. Indian feminism opposes the long-standing traditions and rituals. The social workers eradicated such customs for the betterment, for the better life of women. Rajaram Mohan Rai was a great social worker and maker of modern India. He stopped the inhuman practice of sati, which was a great injustice to her as an individual. The woman was thrown in the funeral fire. I mean, very cruel, cruel custom. And this custom was stopped by Rajaram. I mean, he suffered a lot, but he stopped that custom and he succeeded in it. And in this way, social reformation was done by Rajaram Mohan Rai. And this was the step to improve the status of women. Then Mahatma Jyotirao Phule came forward. He did a great work for education of women. The society was orthodox and was not ready to provide education to women, to girls. Mahatma Phule first taught his wife Savitri Bai Phule, then started school for girls, and he also strongly advocated the remarriages of the girls. He also Maharishi Dhondo-Keshav-Karve's contribution is great, very much great, I would say, that he did not only advocate remarriages of widows, but he himself married widow in 1899. This was the great decision of Maharishi Dhondo-Keshav-Karve, and this was a great step, and this was the initiation for the remarriages of the widows. Tarabai Shinde's contribution cannot be neglected. She was considered as the first Indian feminist who fought against conventional patriarchy and caste system. Her famous book is Stree Purush Tulna. This was feminism in Western and Indian context. I mean, a number of social reformers tried their level best to uplift women and to improve the condition of women, and they succeeded. I mean, they wiped out, they eradicated such customs, such uh, rituals, and such traditions which were obstacles in the progress, in the development of women, and which harassed, which oppressed women during their lifetime. Let us come to types of feminism. There are different types of feminism. Liberal feminism. Liberal feminism is one of the types of feminism. It believes in equality, advocates equality, and at the same time advocates that women should come to the mainstream of society. My point is, which I mean, equality, establishing equality is one of the urge, one of the uh, uh, emphasis of the feminist movement, and that is done by liberal feminism. The second is radical feminism. Radical feminism believes in patriarchal thinking. I mean, patriarchal practices divide men and women in terms of their rights, and patriarchal system does not create healthy society. Healthy society is created with the good relations. I mean, rhythmic relations between man and woman. And patriarchal society does not allow that. That's why radical feminism believes in the healthy relations of the society. Then the third is Marxist feminism, social feminism. This Marxist feminism focuses on class and gender as oppressive forces. I mean, these two forces. We know that capital society gave birth to class. I mean, divided society into classes and also made discrimination on the basis of gender. And class and gender were the two operative forces. And in capital world, women were paid less than men. That was the difference. And women has every right to earn like man. But they are treated as subordinate. That's why they are also paid late. That is taken into consideration by Marxist feminism. Then fourth is cultural feminism. Cultural feminism educates the change in the social approach of patriarchy. Social approach in society. What is the image of woman? I mean, how the image of woman can be changed, how she can be presented. As we know that literature is the reflection of life. I mean, biased image, unfair image of women is presented in literature. That is the reflection of life. And cultural feminism rejects it. Cultural feminism wants to improve, wants to present a good image of woman in society, and that's why wants to make change in the social approach of patriarchy. Then the fifth is ecofeminism. Ecofeminism advocates the change in the social approach of patriarchy. Ecofeminism takes into consideration close and affirmative relationship with nature. I mean, ecofeminism presents close relations with nature, importance of nature, and man always remains happy in the company of nature. But patriarchy exploits nature, and feminism, feminism favors nature. I mean, women worship nature. They love nature. They love plants, and they love greenery. They love everything. That is the distinction. This is presented by ecofeminism. I mean, ecofeminism, in a sentence, shows close and affirmative relationship with nature. This is the brief survey of the types of feminism. And let us come to digital feminism. Digital feminism is the most recent trend in feminism. The technology, the development technology affected almost all walks of life. Why not that during COVID-19, the conferences we used to organize has become us. And that too digital, that too with the help of ICT. And you have organized your webinar on digital humanities. I mean, with the help of ICT, as we are using webinars in the same way, no work of life is an exception. No feminism can be an exception. I mean, the development of technology has affected feminism also. And feminism has turned into digital feminism. Feminism is deeply influenced by technological development. The 21st century, digital century offered many digital platforms to women to express their thoughts and feelings. Results of this, many women have been using technological mediums for expressing their repressed thoughts and feelings. Digital media has become a tool for feminist practices. Now the smartphone is a weapon for feminist practices. Previously it was pen. We know that previously pen was used. I mean, with the help of pen and paper, the authors expressed, or can say presented the women of the image of women in their literature. But now, with the help of smartphone has become weapon, and with the help of smartphone, now women are presenting themselves. When we talk of the emergence of digital feminism, we come to know BBC Newsnight, I mean, opened the platform for women for, for the presentation, or I can say expression. Once Virginia Woolf advocated to use pain as a weapon to fight against patriarchy, with the help of social media, now you can create a loud noise in a second. The noise of a number of women becomes a moment, and these mediums of expression paved the way to the new development in feminism called digital feminism. It is the fourth wave in feminism, which prominently voices the sexual harassment. Earlier, the pen was the weapon for women to write down their experiences. But now, social media is in use for the expression of women's intense thoughts and repressed feelings. Digital spaces have given birth to secluded and safer communities for women where they express everyday ideas, ranging from domestic traumas to harassment at workplaces. It is quite easy for women to write their domestic, sexual, physical, and professional experiences. Obviously, with the help of a digital platform, women have been expressing themselves. It is quite easy for women to write their domestic and sexual, physical, professional experiences. Obviously, with the help of digital platform, women reach the ahead in the journey of feminism. My point is, the best use of social media is done by the feminism. I mean, women are coming forward on feminism, on social media, with the help of social media, and the Me Too movement simply accelerated feminism in the 21st century. The social media like Twitter, Facebook, WhatsApp, blog writing, Instagram, and now TikTok. became the strongest mediums for women to put forward their anguish that they experienced in a male-dominated society. My point is, let it be Instagram, WhatsApp, Telegram, Twitter, Facebook. I mean, all these mediums have been very nicely used for their repressed feelings, or I can say for raising their voice. Now, women started to share and discuss their sufferings on public forums. Social media is a stage where women formed groups to create pressure against the long-standing male-oriented ideology. As we know that we have WhatsApp group, we have Instagram groups, we have Telegram groups. In the same way, there are groups of women, and that becomes a moment. And in a moment or in a second, they reach to the world. They reach to people with the help of social media. Women outburst their long silence. Social media helped women to change the patriarchal ideology that women are big followers of that sector. In India, digital media was strongly used in 2012 for the Nirbhaya case to protest against the rape of an innocent girl. I mean, Nirbhaya case, in Nirbhaya case, the great use of social media, the great use of digital media was, as a result, the rapists were arrested and hung to death. I mean, the second is the example, and that example is of Priyanka Reddy's rape case. When we talk of Priyanka Reddy's rape case, I mean, that case shook the entire country. She was raped and killed brutally, very cruelly. This case was very horrible, and immediately the people expressed that protest on social media. And due to this, that protest, I mean, a kind of atmosphere changed in India and demanded justice, wanted to establish justice. And in this way, we find a number of movements have been created. There is also one more example. The activists created awareness against the Article 377 of IPC. As a result, the Supreme Court passed a historic resolution, and the resolution said women's free to some extent within patriarchal society. Women used social media to discuss and share their views related to the resolutions. In India, women started to use Me Too movement to voice their past sexual harassment. Me Too movement, we know, was a popular movement before some days. A woman has, at everywhere, she has been suffering from domestic and sexual violence. However, she has been suffering from such type of violence. However, bearing all these difficulties, she started to work outside their houses in the last decade of 20th century. The media and the film industry are the fields where women lived their everlasting impressions. They created their impressions. They became famous. They become popular. But this success came to their way with a lot of troubles, especially sexual harassment that they have met almost a decade. This Me Too movement revealed that many celebrities involved in sexual harassment cases. Many people commented on the women had to voice the anguish at that time when they were sexually harassed. But had they stood against the harassment, they would have lost their jobs, and hence women had preferred to stay silent. They remained silent. They could not raise their voice. And in this way, we come to know that they suffered agonies, ordeals, though they were successful. They can easily voice their agony through movements like Me Too in the development of feminism. Feminism started for claiming equal rights between the sexes, and now it is to the using of technology to propagandize their injustice. Once there was a time when women remained silent throughout their life on the subject of sex. The silence was the rule for them. Women did not have medium, space, and place for their sexual expression. The 21st century brought several changes in women's lives. The foremost is the availability of mediums for expression against the wrong practices of the male-oriented society. However, women must have a strong will to come forward for the expression of experiences Virginia Woolf once expected it. Through digital platform, they can easily reach to all corners of the world. Digital platform enable women to write and seek justice. This digital platform also enables to reach millions of people very fastly, within a moment, within a second. And this uh, digital platform is, I will say, a boon. I mean, digital platform is friendly to women. Thus, there were varieties of focuses of feminism, but the main focus of all the trends was to evaluate a woman's image portrayed in literature. All the trends sought equality based on gender with respect to culture, workplace, and family. It is noticed that feminists from all trends attempted to make the theory new on the scenario and the rights of women. Since the ancient times, feminists are trying for equality and the rights of women. The feminists are trying for these two issues, equality and the rights of women. These are the two concerns, two main concerns of the feminists. Has the harassment of the women stopped? Answer comes. Feminism from print media to electronic media, digital media has raised its voice for the better life and better treatment as human being. It should start from home. I mean, if we want to provide solution, give solution to the predicament, to the biased image, image suppressed under patriarchy, and if we want to improve that image, we must start it from home. Women should be respected. Women should be given freedom to be given choice in their life. Women should be treated as human beings with individuality. At any rate, individuality is not marred. We have seen the travel of feminism from Middle Ages to the present time, 21st century. We come to know they have been suppressed. Their rights have been suppressed and their individuality is not taken into consideration. They are individuals. They expect, they need, and that self-respect is the right. That self-respect is to be given to them. Fair treatment is given to them. Fair outlook, fair approach, fair eye to them is very necessary. And they have every right to establish their identity. The fair treatment to women is the only solution to this problem. I feel so. The fair attitude, fair thinking, fair relations as an individual will definitely improve the condition of women. In the face of globalization, when we talk of globalization, what is the image? What is the status of women in globalization? The status of women is determined on the basis of aspects. One is the legal status. Second is the actual treatment given to women in society. And third is opportunity for public life. And the fourth is character and extent of work. These are the determinants of the status of women in society. Are they getting such type of rights? Are they enjoying good status in the globalization? When we talk of globalization, when we talk of freedom, when we talk of liberty, when we talk of equality between man and woman, in the face of globalization, the clear winds of change are blowing across. I see the clear wind is blowing across the world, and that of change in the status. Now, woman has become very confident. She knows a growing consciousness among women. Education, their education is very important. And they have taken education, that too higher education, that too post higher education. They have done doctorates. They are no engineers. They are no pilots. They are what not. They have done all that with the help of their education. At the same time, in them a kind of awareness about their inferior status is also there. Increasing confidence. I mean, constantly a confidence is being increased by them. I mean, they themselves are coming forward. They themselves are building their images and they are craving for their own identity. So, a growing consciousness among women, education, awareness of their inferior status, increasing confidence, and economic independence has led women to question, point against harsh social realities. My point is now in globalization, in this 21st century, woman is very strong. And such a type of image of woman is presented by R.K. Narayan. In that context, R.K. Narayan is a social reformist, I will say. I mean, when he presented image of woman, I mean, Rosie in the kind, Savitri in the novel, I mean, Dark Room, we come to know that R.K. Narayan presented such type of image of the strong. I mean, that strong woman who has broken the shackles of domestic life, who has broken the shackles of family. She herself has come and she is thinking of her own self. She is thinking for her own identity, and she is no more dependent upon man. She is not only interested in family life, she is also interested in her career. So women have broken all the cycles of family and domestic life. And now they also believe in a living relationship with man. And they are women of choice and have started journey of self-discovery, self-realization, self-identity. And this is the change of the status of women in 21st century, I will say, in the age of globalization. But I would like to say that when we talk of the journey of woman through this feminism, or you can say the literary theory of feminism, we come to know from big to strong. This is the journey. But I would like to share one thing, that the image changed from big to strong in Western as well as Eastern countries. But the image of the tribal woman is respected. Tribal woman is worshipped. Equal right is given to her. And even we come to know through this custom that dowry is given to bride, not to the groom. And dowry system is a curse. So, I mean, a good practice, despite feminism. I mean, the tribal community does not know feminism, but respecting, worshipping women, and giving right freedom, a right choice, right life, free life to women. And this is the community which does not know feminism, but enjoying, I mean, true relationship, genuine relationship as men and women. I mean, a genuine relationship, which is very much essential for healthy life, for healthy society. And that is maintained by even the tribe. Despite, despite this, all those things, I mean, I want to make the one thing clear, that as the rights are essential to women, and the rights of voting, the rights of education, I mean, the right to speak, the right to share, the right to build their own image, almost all rights, the right to argue, almost all rights are to be given. They should enjoy, and that is their right also. They should enjoy, but at the same time, they should look after the family, because they are the axis of the family, they are the backbone of the family, and without women, no family can survive. I mean, no home can be happy, and no delicious food can be served, and no happiness can be gained. And that's why the role of the woman is very much significant. And that role is to be maintained. I mean, enjoying almost all happiness and enjoying almost all life, she should take care of the family, and she should be the, I mean, a good partner of, I mean, woman should be the good partner of man for a healthy society. I mean, this we should say in the wake of globalization about the status of women. Sir, Principal Dr. Sonone, sir, you have organized a very wonderful conference, and that too on digital humanities. And that is very nicely coordinated by Dr. Jagirdar Saruke and Dr. Nilesh Madiskar and your team. I mean, in the wake of COVID-19, we are becoming digital. We are very fast with technology, and with the help of technology, with the Zoom app, sir, you have really used technology. You have really made use of ICT, and with the help of ICT, you have organized such a wonderful conference, that too on digital humanities. Sir, organizing conference, and that too online conference, that too e-conference, that too webinar is not a joke for Healy College, and that too small college in a remote area. And you have organized it, and you have made it very successful. So I congratulate Principal Dr. P.S. Sonone sir, the management, and especially Dr. Jagirdar Salunke, Dr. Nilesh Mariskar, teaching and non-teaching staff of the college, and the team who are behind this webinar. Sir, once again, I congratulate you, and I thank the participants for giving me patient listening. And I thank you, sir. Once again, thank you for giving me an opportunity to deliver a lecture in this national webinar. Sir, thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I was really spellbounded with your beautiful words. You have presented the development of feminism from the since the Chaucerian age to postmodern era, and how digital things can be a weapon for the protection of the women. That also you have nicely narrated there. Indian feminism, which is a part of Indian history, that also been presented very nicely, sir. Really, the phases of feminism are really portrayed very nicely by you. On the behalf of one participant, Elizal Anazar, there is one question, sir. What is the difference between equity and equality? What is the difference between equity and equality? That question's been raised by Haizal Aman.
See, equity is the principle, and that principle is to be observed. But equality is given by the society, and that equality is human. Unless that equality is provided, equality will not be established. Equity is the principle, but equality is to be established by human beings. I mean, we talk of equity, but we don't see that equality. Even today, we don't see that equality which is expected by women. We know that everywhere we find a kind of distinction, a kind of discrimination between men and women. Even the things are made so since the childhood. That equality is not seen in the case of women. So equity is the principle, and equality is to be established by the human beings. And that equality makes us healthy and gives us pleasure, and also necessary for the healthy society.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for being with us.